Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today we are going to be reviewing Fate Zero. Basically a prequel to the series Fate Unlimited Blade Works or Fate Heaven's Feel, depending on how you watch it. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop right into this. So what is the story like? Basically similar to the series or story of Fate Unlimited Blade Works, a Holy Grail War is starting. However, unlike last time, instead of focusing on Shiro and Saber and all those other characters from the previous storylines, we're instead going to the past to focus on Shiro's caretaker, Kiritsugu, as well as characters such as Kire and other people in the Holy Grail War, while Saber, as well as the character Gilgamesh and a few others, although most of them don't reappear in Unlimited Blade Works, are there for the ride. And yes, it's this big epic war that spans over 20-something episodes, and that's all I can really say without really trying to spoil too much, and let's just hop right into this. So, what do I like and dislike? Well, as expected of Ufotable, the people behind this series, as well as Demon Slayer, the action is incredible. It's always super fast-paced and intense, and I really like that and how it's handled, as well as how the story itself plays out as well. Like, I didn't know what direction they were going to take with this story, since it is drastically different from the Fate we normally know. Since I started with Fate Stay Night, the visual novel, then I watched Fate Zero, and then I watched Unlimited Blade Works and so on, I did not expect this to be what it was. It was actually a very warm welcome, and I definitely enjoyed it, especially with some episodes that dove more into Kiritsugu's character. I thought it was really interesting. And the only things I kind of disliked was how they handled Saber in this. I didn't mind, but it definitely felt like she had very little development, which makes sense because, you know, she's meant to get development in Unlimited Blade Works, so her having development in Zero wouldn't work. However, we do also get some development from some other characters, just not that many. Some things I actually also like are the villains. In this storyline or season, if you want to call it that, Gilgamesh is there, of course, but technically all the villains of Fate are there. Like, every single one of the enemies, the other fighters, are villains. And the way Kiritsugu goes about this war is definitely probably one of the more interesting ways I've seen the Holy Grail War play out. I have not watched too much Fate as of this review, as I like Fate, but I don't love it, so I still have to dive more into other Fate products. But I actually just really liked a lot about this. There were a few things I didn't like, such as the slow pacing at the beginning. The first episode, it's fine, it sets everything up, but it definitely was slow, and I wish it took more time to just kind of incorporate what was going to happen, rather than just being like, we know this is going to happen. But I still enjoyed it. As much as I do admit I'm not a big fan of prequels, I don't mind them, but I don't prefer them since I already know how things are going to play out. Like, I've been reading the Arifureta Zero series, which is a prequel to the Arifureta series, and as much as I am frustrated that I already know how it's going to play out, I still enjoy it, and that's the same kind of thing here with Fate Zero, because it's following a very similar formula where you already know what's going to happen because it's kind of obvious, but you still want to see how it gets to that point. So yeah, a few things I also kind of dislike is definitely some of the ways some of the characters went out. They made sense, obviously, because that's how those characters would act and how things kind of played out. But there were other characters I just didn't really know that much about, so when we saw them have some spotlights, which I can kind of explain in the spoiler section, I was a little confused about why they care so much about something or somebody, but enough about that. We're just gonna hop into a spoiler section now. So here's a timestamp to when the spoilers end, and yeah, that's all I really have to say. So without further ado, let's just hop into the spoiler section of this review. But first, we should probably count down from 5, so those who want to avoid spoilers can. But anyway, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So, some other things I actually really like about this was an episode dedicated to child Tosaka. Now, I love Tosaka. I think she probably is one of the best girls in the series. While I definitely think the Fate Stay Night storyline is probably the best out of the 3, Tosaka is probably my favorite out of the trio of routes you can go for, and she just shines very brightly in one of the special kind of extended episodes where it just shows her coming back and helping some kids who are being kidnapped by one of the 7 fighters in the Holy Grail War, And it's still probably my favorite episode of Zero, just because it showed that even when she was a kid, Tosaka was an absolute mad lad. And I definitely like that a lot. And I was also curious about how they built up tension in some parts. Like Tosaka's dad, who gets stabbed by Kirei during the Holy Grail War to win over Gilgamesh. The way it was built up, I thought it was going to pull a twist and say that Tosaka's dad, whose name I'm sorry, I cannot remember her dad's name. I was very much expecting him to suddenly be like, "No, Kirei, I'm just gonna take you down and probably take your place," or some kind of weird crap like that. It's a world of magic. I'm sure something like that could have happened. But no, Kirei actually managed to kill him, and it kind of caught me by surprise because I thought it was going to be one of those, nope, he actually saw it coming, but no, he did not see it coming. And it honestly surprised me, but I also thought that was a very interesting way to do it. Another episode that I found very curious was definitely the episode where they introduced one of the other servants, whose name I wish I could remember, but he's like this octopus-like servant who helped a guy murder a kid in a family in the most brutal way possible. And the introduction of him was definitely crazy. And I'm sure he has a lot more lore behind him. I'm sure all the servants do because, it's Fate. There's always lore behind everything. There's lore behind the lore. But I don't know if I'll be able to get interested in that or not. It all depends on if I get into the Fate franchise more, but all in all, I definitely think that there were a lot of great episodes of Zero, and definitely one of my favorite things from Zero was Kiritsugu's backstory. From how he had to fight what was basically magical zombies, having to kill his own father, getting to team up with this other person that he teamed up with for years before having to end up killing her in order to save people. And it just kind of shows that Kiritsugu is, I hope I'm saying his name right, but he's a very interesting character is all I'm saying, especially with his methods, such as bribing one of the fighters in the Holy Grail War with his unconscious fiance or wife, I don't know, but basically he's just kind of saying, if you don't use your command seal to make your servant commit suicide, I am going to kill her. And then, he ends up complying, but then right after that, immediately kills the guy anyway. Just Kiritsugu's method of fighting is so different from Shiro's or anybody else's in the series that I was both astonished and quite frustrated. And I was just so confused by the ending with the Holy Grail War slicing, where Saber ended up getting the command seal was used on her to slice the Holy Grail. It was a bit of a confusing ending, I'm afraid to admit. I did not understand it that well. I was actually quite confused for quite a long time, and I really wish I understood. I still don't really get it, but it was a very interesting way to introduce the whole thing leading towards Kiritsugu picking up Shiro and setting things up for the next Holy Grail War in 10 or so years when Shiro, Tosaka, Sakura, and all that other stuff kind of plays out. But yeah, all in all, I definitely thought it was an interesting series, and I definitely think a lot of the characters were handled quite well. From Ilya's mom and Kiritsugu and all those other developments, I thought it was very interesting how it all played out. However, I'm still not too sure about everything in the Fate franchise because I am not a heavy lore person. I'd rather just watch a show and enjoy it than try to go into every single bit and piece about it. So maybe I don't get everything because that's just not who I am, but I do want to explore the Fate franchise, I guess you could say. That's all I really want to say, that I want to explore it more, and this definitely helped with that since it was still pretty solid. I had a few issues, but overall, I still enjoyed it a lot, especially with this one episode where Gilgamesh, some writer guy whose name I can't remember, and Saber all meet up to, just chat as kings, which I thought was also really good. But yeah, I still enjoyed Fate Zero a lot, and while I definitely think that Unlimited Blade Works was better, I still enjoyed Fate Zero quite a bit, and that's why we're at the conclusion of this video, and I'm gonna share my thoughts right here, right now. So I thought it was decent. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. Did I love it? No, but I still had a pretty good time with it, and that's why I have probably got to rate Fate Zero a 7 out of 10. I still had a very good time with it, and all in all, I thought it was pretty solid. Did I think it was the best thing to ever come out of Ufotable? No. But to be fair, my standards for Ufotable seem to be a little bit high, as I didn't really like the Demon Slayer movie that much, nor did I like Demon Slayer as the show. But I don't know, I haven't watched Season 2 yet. Maybe Season 2 is really good. But overall, I still thought it was decently good. I had a good time, It was a good prequel to, well, I say prequel, but Unlimited Blade Works came out after this, but technically the visual novel came before it, but, well, we don't need the specifics, but overall, I had a great time with it. I didn't love it, but it was decent, and that's all I have to say. As I said before, a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it, didn't love it, but I liked it. So, thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I always welcome new anime fans to the channel, and yeah, that's all I really have to say, and I'll see you all around. Peace!